This is One on One. We're at Drumthwacket. This is the governor's official residence in New Jersey in Princeton. It's the people's home, if you will. And we're doing a series on presidential leadership. For viewers of our program, you know that I'm fascinated, a student of, try to teach a little bit, but always looking to learn more about presidential leadership. And we're pleased to be joined by our good friend, Rick Thigpen over at PSEG, who knows a lot about presidential leadership and energy policy. But why do you know about presidential leadership?
Well, I love it. I'm a history lover, and I study it, and it's really valuable things. You know, energy policy is public policy. Learning about presidents is a very important way to learn about the importance of public policy and how public policy gets made. So I find it fascinating and relevant to my work.
Wilson, Woodrow Wilson.
Governor Woodrow Wilson.
Governor, was he president of?
Princeton University.
Right down the road.
Before that, yes, sir.
What kind of president was he, and what were the years again?
He was the winner of the 1912 and the 1916 presidential elections.
Did he serve out both terms?
He served out both terms, although he had a stroke in office apparently in his second term, and he was, for some significant period of time, debilitated, but he did serve both terms fully.
Wilson and the United Nations.
Wilson, the League of Nations.
The precursor.
So there's several parts of Governor Wilson. You know, he was a Virginian, so for me as an African-American, his views on race were something far less than satisfactory. He segregated the federal bureaucracy, and he was someone who was very intolerant of the future of making people get along and treat people equally. But he was the winner of the 1912 presidential election, and he was able to win because former President Theodore Roosevelt decided to come back and challenge the incumbent Republican President William Howard Taft. A split in the Republican Party opened the door for Woodrow Wilson to win. Woodrow Wilson, in two presidential elections, never got more than 42% of the vote in New Jersey, the state that he won in the 1910 gubernatorial election. It's a very good question. You know, he was a reformer in New Jersey. The bosses put him in power, and then he turned on them. And one of the many things he did as a reformer was create our Board of Public Utilities that regulates energy companies.
The BPU?
So
that was Wilson?
Governor Wilson is the guy who made it happen, and he was a strong opponent of our founder, Thomas McCarter, who didn't want to see that happen at the time. So Governor Wilson was a reformer's governor of New Jersey, and he was treated to about 42% of the vote both times he ran for president from the people of New Jersey. We never really overwhelmingly went for Woodrow Wilson.
Well, then why was he popular with the rest of the nation?
Well, he was popular with the rest of the nation because he was the right man at the right time. He was a very thoughtful and articulate man. He was a reformer and offered a somewhat progressive agenda to the people of the country. The Republicans were split. And then he was the guy who carried our country into World War I. He did a lot to hold us back. And he was widely viewed as having conducted himself very ably as a statesman. He was also viewed as a kind of a reformer, not connected to the ground and a little bit of a dreamer. And the League of Nations was a dream whose time had not yet come. It was never ratified by the Senate, but it was negotiated with the European powers that won World War I by Wilson.
It mattered because?
It mattered because it set the stage for the United Nations.
That's right.
Some 25 years later. And we can look back and say perhaps the League of Nations might have helped us avoid having to go to World War II, but it was never brought about.
Another New Jerseyan connected to the presidency up in the Caldwells?
Well, there's Grover Cleveland, who was, you know, a well-kept secret in that he's a born in Essex County Democrat, so to speak, from Caldwell, New Jersey.
I can't relate.
He was yes, I know you can't. That's what I say to you. But he was a remarkable politician.
Because?
He was elected mayor of Buffalo in 1881, governor of New York in 1882, and then from 1884, 1888, and 1892, he won the popular vote 3 consecutive times for president of the United States. But he is the only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms because he lost his re-election to a guy named Benjamin Harrison from
where's the New Jersey
Indiana.
connection?
So he was born in New Jersey, and then after he left office, he came back to become chairman of the board at Princeton University, and he died in New Jersey. So he started here, he ended here. He made his name in New York. He was a remarkable vote getter. People don't really think about a lot of accomplishments of Grover Cleveland, and he got married to a very, very young woman while he was president of the United States, as we were talking about. He was 55 years old, and she was 21 years old, and he married her while he was in the White House. I have one more for you.
Go.
Garrett Hobart.
From New Jersey?
He's got a statue right in front of Patterson City Hall. He was the Republican state chairman who became somehow the 1896 running mate of Governor William McKinley of Ohio, and they won the 1896 presidential election. And even more fortuitous, he had some kind of heart disease, and Right around the end of that term, 1899, he died in office. And they picked the governor of New York, a guy named Theodore Roosevelt, to be his replacement, and the rest is history. McKinley won re-election. He was an incredibly successful, able politician. He was assassinated by an anarchist.
That's right.
Roosevelt took over, and he became one of the most popular presidents we've ever seen.
The connection between New Jersey and the presidency, as told by Rick Thigpen, not talking energy policy, but talking history here at Drumthwacket, the governor's official mansion in Princeton, the people's home. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Steve.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the New Jersey Education Association, Wells Fargo, RWJ Barnabas Health, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Rowan University Institute for Public Policy and Citizenship, Summit City MD, New Jersey Sharing Network, NJM Insurance Group, and by the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by bestofnj.com and by New Jersey Monthly. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.